All right. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm so very, very excited to talk with Roe Couture DeSaro. This is September the 17th of 2020. I started adding the date because sometimes we talk about things that are current events, but we don't say exactly what they are. And then the show could apply to everything. So it's so very interesting. So welcome, Roe. I'm so happy that you honored us with your presence today.
I am so happy to be here and such a pleasure meeting you. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, we were chatting before we went live about Rose's business was downtown New York when 9/11 happened, and that may be a part of her story that we're going to let her tell you. So, what does it mean to be a gutsy gal? Um, Tell us your story, I would say hello to Romeo.
So I've recognized now that I've been a gutsy gal my whole life. So, why my business now is this movement of helping other women become a gutsy gal is because I just know all of us have greatness in us. I know women have a lot of gifts and a lot of talent and a lot of creativity that has been shut down for generations and is just now coming to fruition. And I just want to be a part of that movement and helping these women be really tap into who they are, where is their power, what's going to give them fulfillment in life. Because it's interesting that you say happiness. I've narrowed it down that the two things we're always just looking for is fulfillment and happiness. Because at the end of the line, whether you are going for money, freedom, whatever your reason for business or even in life is, aren't we all just searching for to be happy?
Be happy, yeah. That's it.
Be happy and fulfilled. And I
Yeah.
think fulfillment is an area that women have escaped for so many generations, not on purpose, but it's just the society and culture
Right.
that we were handed, and now they're waking up to it, and we are waking up to it, and COVID-19 is waking everybody up to it more so. So I'm so thrilled for that. So I'm happy that I get to continue doing my mission and helping women. The Gutsy Gala is about the only guts you need is to be you, is to be authentic, is to be showing up in the world in what makes you happy, what makes you fulfilled, and what makes you jazzed up.
Yeah. Yeah, see, and that's how we landed here together on the show, because that's my mission too. And the feminine way of creating has been kind of squelched while we were all embracing the masculine way of creating, which is awesome and amazing, and we did great things with that. But even though I kind of want to hear your opinion about this, even though in current times, more women are starting businesses, more women are finishing college, more women are doing all of these amazing things in the world. And yet, we still report, vast numbers of us are still taking antidepressants, are still, not pleased with our bodies. We're not happy and fulfilled, even though we're being allowed to
Yeah.
create in the world in the way that, and that's the shift that I want to see. I want to see women creating on their own terms in the ways that fulfill them, that make them happy, that fill them up and excite them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What,
It's so I am totally in agreement with that. The masculine success system we inherited was it served its purpose, but and we weren't in the workforce then, but now we are. And for us to be happy in this workforce, we need to bring who we are. We need to bring our feminine essence. We need to bring our feminine qualities, our characteristics to the table and recognize that weakness is not a sign that we're not strong. And weakness is not an emotional, women are emotional. Doesn't mean that we leave that home and we don't bring that into business. We need to be firm, but we need to be compassionate.
yeah,
And what we're trying to do is be something we're not. So we're trying to fit into this box of being firm, but leaving the compassion out. So, like, I mean, how could you be happy and fulfilled if you're leaving your heart out? It's like,
yes, yes,
right?
yeah,
So we left so much of who we are aside and suppressed it, and that's why we're now the most depressed gender
mhm,
that's out there.
yeah,
And you're so right. And because what happens is, so what I see with the women that I work with. They started a business. They're stuck. There's two women. They're stuck and they're not growing and they don't know why and they're getting very frustrated. So they're not happy. Or they started a business, they are making the six figures, but they're in such overwhelm. They're so stressed out. They're so they took care of everyone. They became the superwoman, but they were like the self-care for their own self went by the wayside.
Yeah,
And
they
that's
left
why
themselves
they're
behind.
very depressed.
Yeah. So the strength that there is in vulnerability is something that is a message that is just, we're trying to get women to understand that being truly who you are with all of the insecurities and the vulnerabilities and the openness is
Yeah.
that's the path to happiness. So we're all about giving women tools to help them.
Hmm.
So and we have an hour. So let's talk about some of the different
Yeah.
tools of, how we can learn to embrace who we really are and step into the lives that we really want.
Yeah. Perfect. And part of it is that, yeah, we have this double bind.
Mhm.
So it's recognizing this paradox that we have. So the first tool is awareness, and just know that we don't have to accept that, well, if I'm going to be successful, I need to be masculine and I have to sacrifice my family and my career and my body and my health and everything else.
Right.
Or the other side is like, well, I'm going to tap into my feminine side. I'm going to take care of myself, but I have to sacrifice not having a successful business. I have to sacrifice not being able to make a lot of money. And so first thing we have to awareness is that we have to get rid of this theory of sacrifice, that we don't have to sacrifice.
Right. It's
We don't
not
have to.
right. Not either or. It's yes and.
Yes. I've been telling women they could have it all for 40 years. and and no one ever, and I always would get feedback and pushback and be like, that's impossible. That's impossible. It's like we women have to sacrifice somewhere. So the first area is recognizing we don't have to sacrifice. There are ways you can. That's part of what I do, is help women to make more and work less. Less
Yes.
hours, make more. And once we start to learn that it's less in what we're doing and more of who we're being, that's when that happens. So how did this get done? Is stop forcing. We have to pay attention, reflect on when we feel that, we're in living by this like goals. Goal setting is very masculine.
Mhm.
Women, unless some women love goal setting, majority of the women, nurturing women, the creatives, the visionaries, the thought leaders, goal setting is like, oh, no, it's like, I don't want to do that. So how do we get that done? We get it done through our intentions. We get it done through serving. We get it done through looking at it from this place of service. So we do want to serve, but we need to take care of ourselves as well at the same time. So I have this whole exercise that I do. There's of, the power of others, me tapping into my seeing myself of my power of others. But then then I do this exercise. Well, what does it feel like to be in the power of you? I help them tap into their own resources, help them tap into recognizing, where are you at your most powerful self? What are you doing? Is it when you're a parent, when you're a spouse, when you're in business? It doesn't matter where it's at, but seeing and teaching them and showing them that in a matter of minutes, I could help them tap them into their power for where they feel their most powerful self. Where is that? Because is it giving in others? So you tap into your powerful self, then you tap into the power of others, and then you simultaneously, what I do is I do an exercise. Well, let's hold both powers at the same time. I could hold a power for you, and I could hold a power for me simultaneously. And we do this exercise and we practice that. And that's when we recognize that, oh, I don't have to sacrifice me to hold my power in someone else. I have actually a piece of jewelry. There's a woman in my group, Untamed Hearts, and she does this energetic jewelry. And one of the pieces, they're amulets. And she has a piece of jewelry that is, it's like, it's kind of like the fire, the flame, and it's the outer flame. And it's like, I want to ignite your flame, but but not at the sacrifice of dimming my own light. So it's these awarenesses and these exercises of learning how to hold power for others, but at the same time holding power for yourself.
We talk a lot in the whole Be Happy First Tribe and Be Happy First University. We devote a whole month to the power of words. So changing out setting goals to setting intentions, to feeling into the future that you envision for yourself instead of setting something ahead that you're striving for. Or they're completely two different things, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a difference between wants and desires.
Okay.
And so I have this exercise where I'll ask the women to take out a sheet of paper, and on the left side, I want you to write down everything you want. And just write down everything you want. You know, I want to make a lot of money. I want a new house. I want a bedroom set. I want a car. I want whatever it is that you want. I want to be happy, right? Could be, you know, I want to be different things.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, I want you to now tap into, okay, what is it that I desire? What do I yearn for? What do I desire? And write down what you desire. And you're going to see it's so different than what you wrote down on your wants. And the desires, and then what does that do for you? When you look at what do I want, what does that bring up? And when you look at the desires, what does that bring up in you? What does that do in you? And so, like, what happens is they start to recognize that the wants, which is totally masculine, is something that they come in and that they feel constricted, and they feel, and they're saying like, oh, I can't get that. They have all this language, like you were saying, these words that go in their head, like, oh no, I'm not good enough for that one. I can't. And so they put all these perspectives and perceptions into that equation. And then when they look at their desires, what do I desire? They feel good and they feel happy and they feel open and they feel loving, and they're like, yeah, that's achievable. And I'm like, well, this is how, if we lived by our desires and what we're yearning for, instead of forcing living by what we want, some goal setting, something that society says we need to do. You know, I need to do this in my business because I want to have more clients. So, but what is it that you desire? So, knowing the difference between wants and desires will help open you up to you tapping into your more feminine side, but you tapping in more to your authentic voice, and you tapping into, you know, why it is your purpose and why you're here. And when you could tap into that and you could see what areas really come up for you, because sometimes what happens, and this is where I learned, I've studied under Claire Samet, who does, you know, feminine power. You know Claire?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. So I'm in the process of her certification program, you know, right now. So I've been deeply studying with her for the last 2 years. And she told a story of when she was starting her business, and she was so focused on, you know, I want to put all my focus on this business. She didn't have a really good time with relationships. She didn't have good success with relationships. And so she started to think that back then, you know, 25 years ago, that there weren't any men on this planet that could handle a strong woman. So maybe God's intention for me is that I'm just supposed to be this, you know, power businesswoman, and my sacrifice is a love life. Talking about sacrifice, right? And but her intuition, as she was building the business, her intuition kept coming into her about her relationships and about love and about, you know, the love life. And she was like, nope, I know where that road goes. I'm not taking that road. It doesn't lead me anywhere happiness. It doesn't lead me to happiness. I'm not doing it. And so she was ignoring her intuition, and she was pushing it back, because she was pushing it back and pushing it back to what's her insides was telling her, because the outside world was saying, you need to build a business, and you need to focus on the business, and your business needs to come first, and blah 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 blah, right? And finally, when she, and I'm just paraphrasing and make the story long story short, when she was getting it so loud and clear, and she's also friends with Michael Beckwith, and so it's
Yeah.
just she happens to be, and she was going to this conference, and she had a dream about a man, and then suddenly she saw an article, and had this feeling like, oh my God, I need to meet this man. And then she sees he's speaking at the conference that she's going to, that was around the world. And then she bumps into Michael Beckwith, and they're talking about what they're with friends, and they're talking about relationships. And she's like, no, it's like, I'm just focusing on my business. And Michael Beckwith was like, what? And she was like, who is this person? And she says who it is. He turns out to be friends with him because she's married. Do you know who she's married to?
Craig Hamilton. Yeah.
Yes. So she's married to this like powerful man. But when they first met, and she's like, when you go to that conference, I want you to go up to him, and here's what I want you to say. And he gave her these like things for her to say, and it was about relationship. It was about her dream and her feelings, and like, and she was like, what? And he was like, yep, you're doing it, make a commitment. So she made the commitment to him. Long story short, she did it. Soon as they met, they had instant energy for one another, instant like, and she spent like 4 days with him, and the rest is history. And I think they're married now 13 or 14 years. So she found the love of her life.
Easily.
She almost didn't,
Mhm.
because she wasn't listening to her desires. She wasn't listening to her yearnings. She was trying to force a situation because the world, the outside world, society was telling her this is what you need to do. And her perception on others in the world and love life, she was bringing that limiting belief to the table and thinking that this is the sacrifice that she needed to make. And she almost lost finding her soulmate
Mhm.
because of that. I believe that he probably would have popped up some other time in her life, but you know, but she would have had to suffer for
Mhm.
how many years
And
and
just to
of
live.
not being happy.
Right. And I want to come back to limiting beliefs, but before we do that, talk to me some more about this. So give me some examples of what would the desires column look like for just expand on that and give me some more information.
You
'Cause
know,
I'm doing it in my
I
head.
desire to make it. I desire to make an impact. I desire to make an impact in the world. I desire to help um, help women that have gone through cancer and really want to make a better life. I desire to um, be fulfilled. I desire to have a man of my dreams. I desire to have a business that really influences other women to go out there and be their powerful self.
Okay, all right. Let me give this back to you and see if I've got it right. All right. So for me personally, and I'll be all raw and vulnerable. My wants could be I want to build a retreat center and a lodge and meditation paths and gardens. The desire is that I want to be seen, or I desire to be seen. I desire to be an influence and a positive impact on other women through teaching them meditation, through teaching them self care, through providing this wonderful haven for them to escape and rediscover themselves. So I get it. I get it. So wanting to build a successful business is one feeling. Wanting to have an impact and to serve and to, create is a completely different feeling. I
Is
get,
way bigger.
yeah, way
It's just
bigger.
it's a bigger field,
Yeah.
and
And
it
just
allows you. Which one do you feel more powerful?
the desire by a long shot because yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it allows you to tap into your power. And it allows you, when you tap into your power, you're going to open up the ability for more wisdom and more insight and more breakthroughs and more creativity and more answers. You're tapping into your internal wisdom, the
yeah,
wise woman that lies inside of you,
right,
versus I want to build this retreat center. Well, maybe be like, well, then I need this, I need that, I need to learn this, I need to get this skill set, I need to get money to do this, and all these things come up, and then you start like, well, how am I going to do that? Oh, I'm not smart enough for that. I'm not big enough for that. I can't do that. Not me. what was I thinking? You know, the next morning, that's how you wake up, right? What was I thinking?
Right, right, right.
Versus if you stay into that desire framework, it's going to move you forward. It's going to pull you forward to
Yeah,
keep going towards what is going to really give you that fulfillment and that happiness and that in that area, right?
yes,
So it's kind of like, so take it from a money perspective, from a business perspective. Um, if I always have people like, well, let's have three goals. There's the minimum goal of what you want to earn, let's say in a project or a launch or something like that. And there's the minimum. Then there's the middle of the road, the like the okay, this is the satisfied number. Then there's that huge number, that what I call the Gutsy Gal goal, that bold goal, that one that like could scare the living dickings out of you, right?
right.
Goal.
Mhm.
But create that goal, but then don't attach to it that and an expectation that if I don't reach that goal, I'm not going to be happy. That's what we do. Tony Robbins did this. I remember years back, like in the 80s, when I did a training with him, and he says the reason why people aren't happy is because their expectations are not lined up
Mhm.
properly. And, so when their expectation doesn't happen, they get deflated.
Right.
So sometimes we put these big goals, and then when we don't reach it, it's like then we create unhappiness for ourselves. And women, the problem with women is that when that happens, we make the meaning of it about ourselves,
Mhm.
where men don't attach themselves as the meaning. They attach the situation as the reason why their expectation didn't happen. So
Right.
they give it a completely different meaning. We make it all about ourselves. We take it very internal, and that brings out that takes our power away. So when when you're able to have this, it just it energizes you.
Mhm.
So the reason for that big goal is for the energy of it. It's for that. It's to awaken and catalyze that desire in you,
Right.
because now that opens up. What's the wow? So let's visualize like, wow, if I launch this program and my ideal goal is 20,000, but I make 70, and I start imagining what that's going to do, what I'm capable of doing. Now, if you go to the desire side, and it's like I'm desiring, I could be seen, I could have all these things I'm able to do because of it. It energizes you. So you let go of the outcome that even if your minimum, no matter what happened, you're not attached to that goal. You're attached to the journey, and the big goal energized your journey,
Right.
which will increase the chances that your journey will be successful.
Yes.
But if the journey didn't happen, it's always like, I tell my clients to look at, well, what's happening in your business that is giving you evidence that it is moving forward? Because sometimes we attach, well, I didn't get a new sale, or I didn't get a new client, or I didn't make the money I wanted to make this month, so therefore everything's bad. It's like, no, but yet you had more likes on your Facebook this month. You had more appointments this month than ever before. You had more people reaching out to you to maybe do empower partnerships. Those are all evidence that your business is growing. Yet you focused on, I didn't get the 5 clients that I wanted. I only got one.
I totally love. So you are saying all the things that I say, but you're saying them in Bruce voice and Bruce words, and it's fabulous. So we call that unconditional happiness. So that, yeah, I'm loving this that I'm working towards. It's going to be amazing when I get these results, but I don't have to wait to be happy. Sean Aker does he's got
Yeah,
a
love Sean Aker.
yeah, the happy secret to better work. It's like we put happiness beyond the cognitive horizon, because we're like, oh, I'll be happy when I reach this goal. But we reach the goal, and we're not. We set another goal and another goal, another goal, and
Right.
we can flip it around and be in love with the process, be in love with the desire and the cultivating of this desire. Then
Hmm.
we win no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm in love with the journey.
in love with the
I'm in
journey.
love with the journey. I'm in love with life. I'm in love with being curious of what life is going to show up today and present me today. I'm in love with, the wonder of it all. Like, I wonder, when you get into that place of wonder and curiosity, open up. And I've done this since the 80s, where, because I follow Tony Robbins, I've been a personal development geek, junkie since the 80s. And I went to a seminar. It was Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Dennis Waitley, Tony Robbins, and one other person, all in one day. I
Wow.
mean, you
Powerhouse.
don't get that today. No way. This was probably 82, 1983.
Mhm.
Tony Robbins, I think, was like 3 years into his business. I
Mhm.
don't even know if he made $1 million yet. I think he made $1 million like right after that, his
Mhm.
first million. And he was young, but he didn't look young because he was so tall. And this was in a theater in Manhattan, so I was in the balcony seat, so I was like really far away. But I sat there. That's when I first sat there and said, "That's what I want to do." Like, I love like motivational speaking, and I just loved it. But he taught me, it's about, and I'm a psychology major as well, so I studied psychology in college. But that's where I learned about, it's the journey. It's not about the destination. It's the journey. Because, and a lot of people, they create goals. That's why goal setting, another reason, back to goal setting, you create a goal. So let's say you even do reach your goal, then they don't understand why after that they're not happy, because they never even replaced a new goal. They're like, that was it. That was my goal in life. I'm like, I reached it. I'm like, no, it's like, what's your next level? What's the next, where are you going now? It's like, I tease, I started my coaching business when I was 55. And, so I was getting this at 53, 54. My yearning was, there's something more. I'm feeling something more. There's something more I'm supposed to be doing. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. There's something else I'm supposed to be doing. I was getting that message for like a couple of years. And suddenly, when I was getting that message, everything else was falling apart because I wasn't listening to myself. So everything else, I was like, nope, universe, the God was like, you're not listening. It's like, and um, and I said to myself, I'm like, well, I'm getting too old to get this wrong. I need to figure this out. And I think I need to figure out, why am I here? Why was I put on earth? God, what is your calling for me? What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it that you want me to do? And I hired a coach to help me with that. And at the end, it really validated that I wanted to empower women, wanted to be that motivational speaker, I wanted to be more of a transformational, although that wasn't a word back then.
Right.
And but it validated it. And to me, that validation was like, oh, this is it. And this has been the first time in my life. So now I'm going on my 7th year, that I wake up every day like it's day one. I wake up every day with like loving every moment what I'm doing, and I could have like a conversation with you and like this for 24 hours, and I will not be zoomed out. you know, I won't be talked out. I won't be zoomed out. I could have conversations at 3 o'clock in the morning about this, and up until that part of my life, I was the type of person that would start a new project, go gun ho, do really really well out of the gate, flying success, and then like it would falter, and it would fall apart, or I would start to procrastinate, or I wouldn't follow through, and I didn't know why. And it wasn't until I realized, because I was chasing money, I was chasing freedom.
Facing
When I
happy.
wanted when I was chasing, and I found the money, and I knew it didn't happen, and I lost my $1 million business on 9/11. you know the stock crash. I'm no stranger to global crises. I was earning close to $200,000 at a 30-year-old in 1987 when the stock market crashed. I was on Wall Street. I broke glass ceilings. I pioneered. I paved the way, for the women CEOs of today, in a sense, because I was the first woman, time and time again, in 3 different situations. And, so I know what it's like to lose constantly, go up and then be pulled down, go up and be pulled down. And that's why that gave me that, after 9/11 and after that experience, it put my definition of success in perspective
Perspective, right. Right,
for
right.
all of us.
Yeah,
Not only me, because I was there. Every single human being, I think 9/11 did that for immediately.
right. Change your
But,
priority.
right? Didn't that do that for you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And that's what started me on that journey and that quest to be like, okay, I know I'm on this quest for happiness. And I know I'm happy and I'm enjoying the journey and I know how to enjoy the journey, but I know there's something more that's going to give me even deeper fulfillment, which will give me deeper happiness. And that's when I started asking those questions. So, you know what another tool we say is to do is to learn how to ask the right questions.
It's the absolute
Right?
truth. And you can equate all of this to Google. The better your question, the better your answer is going to be, So
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
specific and yeah, and keep asking and be patient, waiting for the answer.
Yep. Because those answers are going to give you insight.
Mhm.
It's going to give you insight, which is going to eventually lead you to your calling and your purpose, and that's what's going to lead you, to the happiness and go for it. That's where, like, with women, I think with the creativities, like sometimes we put this label on what type of business we need to have, or is what I'm feeling I need, what I'm called to do. Yeah, but that's not going to make me money, or that's going to be too hard, or that's going to do too much. That's going to create too much sacrifice. But I think if we really tap into who we are, get to really clear on who we are, and learn our unique brilliance and learn the gifts and the talents and who we are, and then start to look at, okay, have been all my experiences in my life so far, and start to tap into, you start to tap into, like, what solution you can give to the world, and start to tap into, well, who am I most ideally qualified to serve this solution to? So who is, who is the transformation for, and what is the transformation? But when, and Claire helped me with it. I have always known this, and I work about what she gave me in distinction was that the easiest path is the one where you really figure out that when you add all this up, who am I most qualified to serve? Instead of from this place of, okay, here's the 4 categories of niches to work with, target markets to work with, that are the most lucrative. Business owners, corporate, health and wellness, finance. Like, those are the 4 main areas. And then, okay, like, and then who in there, do you want to work with? And we try to pick who we are ideally, that who we should be serving, because they have a history of spending a lot of money. They have, like, all these different reasons that we're given all these labels as to why we want to serve these people, without looking at us as, well, with everything that I've done, who am I most qualified to serve? And that's why, like, for me, was like, well, I've been this original gutsy gal, that I'm qualified to serve women to be gutsy, to lead in their pathway, to find their pioneer. Where's their pioneer path? Where's their trailblazer? And help them find that trailblazer, because that's what I've done. But how to do it in a way that you're going to enjoy the journey and be happy. Like, I look back and I said, I was able to have it all in a period of 80s and 90s, when then I'm finding that women of today, 2020, don't feel they can do that. They can have it all. And I'm like, wait a minute, I was doing this 30 years ago. So I said to myself, asking questions, right? What was I doing that enabled me to be happy and to have it all, and to have a career on Wall Street, breaking glass ceilings? Like, most people's perception to be a CEO, there's actually Citigroup just announced a first female CEO. So it's like first time a big financial firm like that, it's got a CEO. And there's another woman CEO that's the first of its kind, that was just announced, just like within this last month. Um, and but what was I doing to be able to have a kind of a Wall Street type of career that technically, when you think of a CEO of a Wall Street career, they're like, she's got no life. She works 100 hours a week. She doesn't see her kids. Her husband doesn't know who she is. You know, she never gets to go on vacation. This is what we think, right? So I was like, well, I was going on vacation. I was raising my kids, and they were toddlers doing this because I had my kids late in life. It says I had a very good relationship with my husband. We went out to dinner all the time. We traveled. We did everything. What was I doing? And that's when I started putting all these little pieces together. And one of the main ones that came up was boundaries. Is that I created boundaries because part of it was, and I was made me think I was selfish at the time, but that was because of what society was letting us to believe. And I was thinking that it was manipulation and selfishness and all that stuff, but it really wasn't selfishness. It was about me just asking for what I want, me having self-care enough for myself that, well, if I am going to work and be a breadwinner, which society says I don't have to, right? Because I was at the time when I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. So I'm like, well, since I don't have to do this and I want to do this, then, honey, I want a cleaning woman. I'm going to want a cleaning woman. I want this, that, and this is what I'm going to need in order for me to do this. And we have a good time and have fun. And he was all for it because he was like, I don't have to have the pressure of being the breadwinner. And you can make money. And then especially I was on Wall Street with an expense account. He's like, oh, I'm all for it. So I started just recognizing I was implementing self-care from a standpoint of getting my needs met.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm deserving of being taken care of and getting my needs met as I do this, and this. You
Well, and
know,
then
I
oh,
put it on myself that I wanted to be a business owner. So
yeah,
that's on me.
and you didn't expect anyone to read your mind. I see that so many times that, oh, if he loved me, he would know what I want. And instead of, speaking up and saying, so that everyone knows where you stand and knows what it is that you want and what your expectations and boundaries are. So clear communication. I watched your TED Talk on conversational cocktails. That was fascinating.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, and it is, and so I was thinking about what does it mean to be gutsy, and what will our viewers and our listeners think when they see gutsy. And to me, and I want to hear what your definition of a gutsy gal is, that it is being true to yourself and being in service and not settling, deciding what you want your life to look like, regardless of what society or your parents or your spouse or anybody says, and having a true deep believing that you are worthy of that, you're deserving of that, and that it's entirely possible. And then moving in that direction with joy and love and ease and curiosity and wonder. And
Right.
yeah,
And with your soul and with heart
yeah.
and unapologetic and without judgment and without criticism and leaving all that aside and doing everything you just described the Gutsy Gal beautifully. Thank you. And I was concerned in the beginning because I had some people that came up that they thought it was going to be me teaching them how to be like aggressive,
Ball
like be
buster.
gutsy, be like go out there and be a man. And I was like, no, actually, it's the opposite. So the Gutsy Gal formula, there is that piece of that understanding the feminine, the masculine, and understanding the balance, when to tap into your feminine, when to tap in the masculine. We create in the feminine. We we um, we put it together actually still in the feminine. We put it together in the masculine. So we create in the feminine. We create the structures in our masculine, but then we execute in the flow.
I
So then the flow is the
clear
balance.
that the masculine way of creating is like how you build a house, step by step by step, and you have a plan and you do all of these things together. And the feminine way of creating is more like cultivating a garden, where you're
Hmm.
sowing seeds and nurturing them. So
The intuition, tapping into the wisdom and the intuition, and then the masculine is the structured piece. So we need both.
you both, right?
We need both. So it's learning that balance. So that's part of it. Another part of the Gutsy Gal formula is the boundaries.
Mhm.
Getting to know the boundaries, and then getting to know it's the gender biases, the gender blind spots that trigger us, that men don't realize that they do because society, and we don't realize it, and we start playing small. So that stops us from being unapologetic. So when we can be aware, kind of like that was the conversational cocktails, when we can be aware that certain words or certain things trigger us in a negative way, that that takes our power away, then we could do something about it. And then we could recognize it. I'm a firm believer, it's happened with me. It's that when when you're in discovery and understanding, and when you discover why and understand why, you'll find your confidence and your power, and you can embrace your courage.
Right.
Because that's where the Gutsy Gal is really is about embracing the courage, so that you could take inspired action, and that will give you the confidence. And then the confidence will give you more courage, and then more courage will give you more confidence. And then it's like, who came first, the chicken or the egg?
Right. Right. We talk a lot about that in that approaching anything new that you've never done for the first time, your confidence is going to be shaky because you don't know what you're doing really because you've never
Exactly.
done it. So that's where having the courage to do it anyway, and the
Right.
faith that the confidence will come as increase your skill. We can learn anything that we want to learn. We can
Yeah. And
acquire
then you
any.
ask the right questions,
Yeah.
you'll get the right answers. And then when you take the action is what really gives you the answers.
Right.
So you have to look at failure as a good thing, because you're going to learn, so that you could be, what worked, what didn't work.
Mhm.
With managing director for eWomenNetwork, I partnered with a 20-year-old women's business network to help women, so that whether they're working with me in a group or personally, I get to really, I found a way to empower women no matter what, and that's by bringing them into the women's business network. And I actually started that with Sue Erder. I was one of her facilitators for her groups back in, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years ago, something like that.
Right.
But, oh, I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Sue Erda is our publisher. That's how Ro and I met. What was your first book that you did with the Powerful You
The
Publishing?
very first book, Empowering Transformations for Women. So I was a facilitator for one of her Power for You chapters.
Yeah.
And this is a great story. Talk about like, I did not have any confidence in my writing skills. I had confidence in my speaking skills because that's what I was accustomed to. That's the muscle I built.
Mhm.
Speaking to stockbrokers, presenting in front of stockbrokers, we'll build that muscle.
Mhm.
But my writing was not good because I was not your typical female in school. I was more of a masculine. I was an athlete, and I did not like English, so I didn't pay attention to English. So my English is not the best. So that to me felt like a good writer has to be a great in English and know grammar and know all this stuff. And I'm like, so therefore, my deduction was therefore I could never be a good writer. So I had to promote the book as part of being a facilitator for Power for You, talking about listening. I'm promoting the book, and deep down, my desire was like, I would love to be an author. I know this would be I have felt that desire to be an author, but my outside world, my head kept saying, no, you're terrible at writing. You're terrible in English. People will make fun of you. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to think, you're going to show how you're not so smart. And finally, I got that email. It said, one spot left, last call. And I was like, and something inside me snapped and said, I don't know. I said, let me just reach out to call Sue Erder. We'll talk about it. So I looked at the easiness of that, and she empowered me. She gave me that comfort that I needed. This is another lesson here with women supporting other women. She just gave me that little extra Don't worry about it. I'll hold your hand. We have copywriters for that. We have people that'll correct your English. I was like, you do? And we're going to have a class and teach you how to write. I'm like, you will? And she's like, yes, don't worry about it. You have a beautiful story. You're a beautiful person. And she knew my 9/11 story. And she knew, and she was like, yeah. And so I said yes. The moment I said yes, the universe opened up the floodgates. Opened up the floodgates. So now I'm like, okay, what am I going to speak about? I don't know what transformation did I have that I'm going to speak about that night. That very, very, talk about synchronicity. That very, very night, I get someone reaches out to me. A woman reaches out to me on Facebook, have not spoken to her in 25 years. Hey, Ro, how are you? Been looking for you, been dying. I found you on Facebook. It was a girl that I was friends with when she was 9 and I was 10. Her grandmother lived 2 doors away from me. Her parents would come in and visit, and we became friends. And I suddenly was like, oh my God, I know what I'm going to talk about. And like, it wasn't one completely, but the next day we had the call, the training call, and I told them the story, and everybody's like, you know what you're talking about. Because what happened was I went to her house at a sleepover when I was 10 years old, and her father misappropriately mishandled himself and sexually abused me. And everybody was like, oh, well, we know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow. I was like, wow. And so when we had the get together call with her, I never spoke to her about it because she didn't believe me when I said it. I said something at 10 years old. I called her father out when I was 10 years old, and he basically just yelled at me and told me I was going to go to jail for making lies. And I went home and never told a soul for 40 years, like one of those stories. And she didn't even want to be my friends after that because she's like, I'm making up these lies about her father. And she tells me on the call, so now we're old, I'm adults, I'm like, I brought it to her attention, what just happened with the book, the whole thing. And she says to me, my mother, I never believed you, and I struggled with that. She says, but my mother always believed you. And it turned out they found out her father was doing, you know,
Yeah.
misappropriated things, and that they wound up getting divorced, and he had passed on, So it was like, so here saying yes to this actually closed a door for me. I was like, wow, your mother believed me. It was like I lived with this for 40 years thinking that people thought I was telling a lie and that I was a bad kid and all this stuff. So you don't know when you finally do say yes to yourself, and intuition is telling you I'm thinking it's for business. And it turned out the transformation that I got because I wrote that story that was just one of them. My 80-year-old mom at the time, she's 91 now, she told me in silence, and I was, because I told something else about a family member that was coming on to me, which is a family secret, and I revealed that. So I was like, vulnerability is like, I'm the master at that. and I'll just be really quick because I know we're coming out of time, so it'll be the last story. But my mom comes to me and sits down, and she tells me a story of a neighbor that came on to her and that she never told in her entire life. This was something for when she got married when she was 17. So she was like 20 years old, like, and now she's 80. 60 years she held this in. I was like, wow, she was able to get it out. And she was able to finally, that generation, have that wasn't alone. Like, this is the Me Too. This was a situation. It was way, way before Me Too. So it was just an incredible sense of fulfillment and happiness because I said yes to my intuition. I said yes to my yearnings. I said yes to my desires. I looked within. I looked within. I didn't look without. We look for happiness when I'll be there, if only when this happens, when I lose weight, when I make a lot of money, when it's like that is not the happiness. The happiness is from inside. So I hope I gave your readers a lot of reasons of why happiness is from within
Yeah.
and how we could have control. There's one thing we do have control is we have control of our happiness, because that I said, if life's going to be hard, I used to have this feeling, if life's going to be hard, if life's going to bring all these challenges, I might as well be happy doing it.
Right. Well, and you said very early on when you were talking about interactions with your clients and evidence of success, every minute of every day has beautiful, awesome, wonderful, uplifting things to look at. And it also has disappointing things
Exactly.
you don't want to look at. So you get to choose where you're going to put
Yeah.
your focus every minute. And
So I would say, which one am I going to feel better at? I'm going to feel better looking at the gratitude and looking at what's working. I'm
yeah,
not going to feel so good if I'm looking down there. I don't want to feel bad. I want to feel good.
right. And being selfish enough to choose to feel good, to make it important
Yeah.
that you're happy and you're
Yeah. And it's not selfish, but we were taught that it was selfish. And that's the limiting belief we need to get along. It's not selfish. So
exactly.
we have to fill our cup up, like actually overflow it so that we have enough to give to
Well,
ourselves and others.
yeah, and and I'm trying to flip that word on its head. That being selfish is a good thing because if
Yeah.
you cannot serve from an empty vessel. So if you don't fill yourself up first, you have nothing to
Yep.
give anyone else. So
Boundaries is not selfishness. Boundaries is helping people to teach them how to treat you, and they secretly want to know how to do that. People like our kids want to make their parents love them and feel good about them. They want to do good.
right,
And people, our clients want us to tell them what they need to do, what's to expected of them, and relationships. So it's boundaries are not selfish either.
no, absolutely
So
not. There was
I'm
a
gonna.
there was a really neat study that was done about they got some playground equipment and put it in the middle of the just in the middle of nowhere with no fences, no anything, and turned the children loose. And they stayed very, very, very close to the playground equipment and didn't wander very far at all. But then they enclosed it with a fence, and the kids would go. They would utilize all of that space. So what boundaries do is they give you a safe place within to create. And
Absolutely.
a structure that feels really good. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else? Any other tidbits you want to add for us before we wrap up for today?
It's just that I think the one thing that really does hold us back, especially women, is looking to the outside world for our happiness and not looking within. And just take 15 minutes every day and just get really silent, get really quiet. If you don't meditate, you'll start to learn how to meditate, but just get really quiet, non-distraction, and ask yourself a question that you need to know an answer for, and just sit and wait for the answer.
Right.
If it doesn't come that minute, the universe will start bringing it to you, and it'll come like in the shower or, when you wake up, which is usually mine early in the morning when I wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So just take that time. Give yourself 15 minutes, just 15 minutes a day, and just get silent. That's what COVID-19 taught us. It was about being reflective. That's why people are changing so many things, because that's what reflection does. So make it an effort to be reflective every day.
Awesome. All right. So, where can our viewers and our listeners find you? We will, wherever you're watching this, if you look in the comments on Facebook, if you look in the show notes on the website, if you look in the description on the podcast, we'll include links and other information to help you connect with Roe in whatever way you want to. But for those who are just listening, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So my website, and um, there's a contact page in there, is Gutsy Gals Get More.
GutsyGalsGetMore.com.
Gutsy Gals Get More. And we get more happiness, we get more love, we get more money, we get more clients, we get more everything. And so that is one way. My email is my namesake. It's Roe at Roe Couture DeSaro.com. So reach out to, and anywhere, all my social media handles, with the exception of Instagram, is Be a Gutsy Gal.
Be a
So
Gutsy.
be a Gutsy Gal on LinkedIn, be a Gutsy Gal on Facebook, or bring it to my Facebook page. On Instagram, it's Gutsy Gal _leaders. I used to have Be a Gutsy Gal, but I lost it, and IG won't give it back to me. They're saying it's somebody else's. I keep trying to tell them, yeah, that was me, but they don't seem to get that. Um, but that's the best way. I do have a Facebook group, and this way, if they find me, they want to find my Facebook group. It's Courageous Conversations for a Wholehearted, Impactful, Profitable Business. But I'm all about courageous conversations. If you want to join my courageous conversations and continue these conversations, then by all means, I welcome you to invite you to come into my private Facebook group.
Awesome. 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 Thank you again, Ro, for being here with me today. I'm so, so very, very grateful. We're going to be back with another great guest next Thursday, and I hope you will join us. And be sure to subscribe and like and comment and participate. Get to be a part of the Be Happy First Tribe wherever you happen to be finding. So, going to see you next week. In the meantime, remember, happiness is a choice, and you can always choose to be happy first. I'll see you soon. Okay, we're clear. Yay! That was
awesome.
An awesome interview.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was a feel-good conversation.
Yes, it was very much. I love it. It's like, oh, everything you say just resonates perfectly with.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, this is me, this is me, this is me. And I'm like, yes, I love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Of course, any friend of Sue Erda, I'm sure we're all kindred spirits.
Yeah. So she was on the show. Time is a thing a few weeks ago, and after I signed up for the new book, and we started talking right away about other guests to be on the show, and she sent me a list of 4 people. One of them was you, and so I'm really
awesome
grateful that you would do this for me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, I never thought. So look at this. I should have mentioned it, because look where that saying yes to me writing the book in 2007, and me not thinking I'm a writer, I'm now wrote the forward to this book.
This book, yes, that's awesome.
It's like, I'm like, people don't understand. I'm like, does that mean I made it?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, to me, that's like, I've made it. I'm like, this is truly, because this is something that was not in my, oh my God, it wasn't in my universe of like anybody ever asking me to write a forward for a book.
You have arrived. Yeah, I love it.
I've arrived. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So.
Okay, so when I get
everything, does.
When I get the, I'll be creating a web page that's got all of your stuff on it, and the audio will go to the podcast, and the video will go to YouTube, and I'll put all those links together in an email for you.
Okay. And when does that go live about?
Well, the Facebook Live is already up. It's out there. But in the next day or so, I try to do them on Thursday afternoons, but I usually do that. Oh. Hello?
You had froze. Oh.
Am I back now? Okay.
You froze. I don't know if you could hear me. Yeah, you're totally frozen. Not sure what is happening. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Turn your video off. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, cool. I just sent you a couple of little chat messages.
Great picture.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, I'm getting every other word.
Okay, that's okay. I sent you a chat. Check the chat.
You'll email me. We're good. I got everything.
All right.
Thank you. Love what you're doing.
Thank you. I'll see you soon. Mwah.
Yes, I did check the chat. You're going to email me. Okay, thank you. Bye. I think you said bye. Yes, bye. Okay, good.